Where's the loyalty? You just met Carmen. I know I'm not the best sister, but please put some respect on my name. Hello, this is Mundais. If you're Nuranja, welcome. If you're not Nuranja, nice to see you again. Today we will be discussing overcompensating, and I know before we go into the show and how I felt about it, I said I was gonna make a lifeless video, and I did, but it's currently blocked like across all regions, so the likelihood of you ever seeing it on this YouTube channel is slim to none. Also, I had a bit of a sabbatical slash it took me a while to make the video, so I'll take part of the blame because I had my wisdom tooth removed and it was like the worst experience of my life, but that's whatever it was. And every week after that I've been sick, so this is the first weekend where I'm feeling like myself again. I decided to treat myself. I got my henna done, I painted my nails. I was like, I'm gonna look cute when I do this. I also got my hair done. Took me a while because I was really in that depression. I was deep in it. Anyway, I hope that you have fared better than me. Like, I hope that life is doing amazing things for you. Now that I've explained my whole life story, let me tell you more about the show we will be talking about today. So I binged Overcompensating in one sitting. I'm pretty sure I was supposed to go to sleep pretty early that day, but I was like, no, I'm on the finale, and it was done. Okay, and every single moment of it was hilarious and had me like, oh, cringing, but in a good way, because I adore cringing, especially when it's for other people, not my own life experiences. All the marketing worked on me, and either I have a very acquired taste or I'm basic, but I prefer to believe the first one. So if by some chance your TikTok page is not like mine, let me tell you what overcompensating is about. Overcompensating follows Benny, a closeted former football player, as he becomes fast friends with Carmen, a high school outsider. You basically watch them navigate the new environment that is called university, which includes horrible hookups, flavored vodka, and fake IDs. He also does this with the guidance from his older sister and her boyfriend, Peter. If it's not clear, this video is for the girls, the gays, and the allies.
Talk, Valentina. Ally.
So if you're neither, take your bigotry with you, because that's not the audience I'm trying to pander to, I'm afraid. Without further ado, let's dive into it. I'm going to go really in depth for the first episode before I get into my character analysis, because I feel like it does a great job at setting the scene and letting you know about these characters and setting out the building blocks for what occurs later in the season. So let's talk about episode 1. The show starts with Benny as a child watching George of the Jungle, right? And he is continuously rewinding as George swings through the forest, woods, I don't know what, jungle. Genuinely, it's in the name. And then we realize he's not in this room alone. There's actually other people there. I think this is a pretty good starter for the show because you can immediately tell that his interest is in men. And I know that Brendan Fraser, the star he is a great awakening for anybody who has one. So it starts off with showing us him as a kid and feeling like an outsider because he has invited other people to show them his interest, but nobody else actually vibes with it. And I kind of get it as well, because it's kind of strange how you put on a movie and just kept on rewinding one specific scene. Like, come on, Benny, come on. It starts like that, and then it fast forwards to him getting ready for college, right? And him prepping himself.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Benny. I love
By telling himself lies. He's excited to be going to college, and so are his parents, who seem to absolutely adore him. And in between this, we get like a little flash of him almost kissing a dude, which seems to irk him, but he's like, push those memories away. That ain't me. When he gets dropped off at college, he bumps into his sister, who is Grace, and her boyfriend. His sister immediately is like, I hate that you're here. And he's like, I had no choice. And she goes like, because you have no balls, which is something you'll begin to see throughout me talking about the show. So I think it was very important to mention. Anyway, their relationship seems to be tenuous at best. Also, side note, the mom is the same mom from The Lifeless, and after watching her there and then seeing her here, I'm just like, I kind of get why they cast her. She has a super soothing voice, and I vibe with it. On the other hand, Carmen, the complete opposite to him, has been dropped off by her parents, completely stranded, and when she enters the college to go and find her dorm, she finally meets her roommate, who is iconic, by the way.
Oh, hey, Papa Bear. Hi, would you actually mind carrying that to our room? I'm just really exhausted carrying these tits around.
It's just not her parents who are disinterested, it's also her boyfriend who is in another state and makes it clear that he can't handle this long distance thing and is probably gonna get with other people over text when she arrives. After being set free from the shackles of his parents who love him, adore him, I adore them too, but are overbearing, he runs to go and find where orientation is happening. The only people who know where the orientation is happening is the LGBTQ club that are handing out, the condiments. The condiment. Because apparently nobody else goes to class, and when he arrives at the orientation, he meets Carmen and sees the love of his life. And no, just to be clear, the love of his life is not common. It just happens in that order. The orientation is hilarious, and I feel like I just have to mention it because Benito, who plays Benny, the creator, did have quite a few like creators from TikTok and across the spectrum come onto the show, as well as very famous people like Charlie XCX, not Puth. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And Megan Fox. So I really enjoyed that. Carmen finds Benny cute, which valid because he is, and invites him to a pregame. The reason why she invites him is because of the fact that her boyfriend, who she left back home, posts a photo with a girl, and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna reciprocate this energy, which I understand. Underage, because the consenting drinking age in America is 21. He enlists his sister and her boyfriend to get him some alcohol for the pregame. There, his sister goes into the joint, and he's left behind with Peter, who is such a dude bro, and it's severely uncomfortable watching their interactions, but also deeply pleasing because I don't know why Benny acts the way that he does. I guess he loves to overcompensate, and it's good television, okay?
Oh shit! You know that?
Yeah.
That's tight.
Yeah, my friends and I used to bird call.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
You like me?
The first night of college defines you, or at least that's what everyone says repeatedly in the first episode. And when you're 18, fresh out of high school, with not really a great idea of who you are, and everyone is telling you who, what, and how you should be, the easiest thing to do is to go along with the vibe. It's uncomfortable, and as you discover and disregard the parts of you that you're certain about, you overcompensate. So, with a little bit of a background, it's time to speak in depth from this point. There will be spoilers of the entire season, so tread with caution, or watch it, or watch my video, then watch it because it's only a fraction of the goodness.
This one is for the boys with a boom and says.
Benny, my sweet summer child, is not straight. He grew up in a small town, did everything his parents ever wanted, was the star quarterback, valedictorian. So this idea of him being like a perfect child slash perfect person extended outside of his household, and it became his entire being. And for the first time in his life, away from all the prying eyes and people who know him, he has the chance to be the person he's always wanted to be. But immediately he gets entangled with his sister, who is already at the college, and her boyfriend, Peter, who has expectations of him, and we're back at step one. Also, disclaimer, I will be using the word overcompensating a lot. I know it's the name of the show, but also they named it very accurately, and if I get annoyed by me saying it a lot, I'll look for another word in the dictionary, otherwise, deal with it, okay? The first friend that Benny makes is Carmen, but he is, for a good part of the show, constantly disappointing her. This is because he's obviously using the relationship that they have, even though it's like friendship only, to make him seem more straight than he is. And while Carmen does do the same thing by not correcting people when they speak of the things they did the first night they met, she doesn't take it as far as Benny, where he explicitly states what happened. Eventually, they sort this out and they become an inseparable duo, the best of friends, and their friendship is a great part of why I love watching this. Platonic relationships further win. But Benny's lie is still hanging over his head. So despite the fact that he is not interested, he joins Peter's secret society. It's kind of wild because he is following the straight boy guidebook to a T. Be a quarterback, check. Sleep with girls / gain the reputation of sleeping with girls, check. Join a misogynistic secret society, TBD. I love the first portion of Overcompensating 2 bits. It is funny, it is embarrassing, and while it is heartbreaking to watch someone deny who they are, it is really good. But the second half of the show, after Benny, and I say this lightly, acknowledges that he may be gay because he's like, maybe I'm bi, has me. Carmen immediately is there to assist him, and I love that. And he also gets to interact with the leader, I believe, of the LGBTQ club, George, and those interactions are kind of fun because you see him slowly, like, or trying to accept who he is. I've said it, or at least I think I've said that Benny is not perfect, and therefore disappointment and Benny go hand in hand in his journey right now. Because when he is visiting George, who works at one of the stores on campus, the secret society members who are currently still hazing him enter that store, he acts like he doesn't know George at all, despite confiding in him and treating him as a friend, which is a shitty thing to do. And I'm not gonna say that it's okay because of the things that he's been going through. It's not. The first season is riddled with him being lost and making these kind of mistakes, but if he started off well adjusted, where would the growth be? And that's part of something I'm really excited to see in season 2. Part of him trying to embrace himself is making amends, because from the beginning he's been having this one flashback of him almost kissing a dude, right? And we have no context, but we finally get it when he gets back home. He had a friend and it seemed like they had a connection, so the friend leaned in and he shoved him and used an offensive word and said, well, you were wrong. This is now hard to ignore, considering that he bumps into him and he's also currently adjusting to the fact that he may be accepting who he is. He apologizes, they make out in the bathroom, and at the end of the night, he finally shows some solidarity and punches someone for being homophobic. He does get beat up, but it's the thought that counts and the bruises that he got, okay? And this time, we also get to explore his relationship with his parents a little. I said that he is the golden child. In fact, this hasn't even changed. The whole break, we are seeing the effect of the lack of his presence in their home. It could be also that now they've had their 2 kids leave the nest. It has drastically changed their lifestyle, but they were clearly latching on to Benny a bit more because he was fitting the ideals that they had. And his dad is really into fitness, gets another job as an assistant coach, redecorates the house, and I'm not saying that the mom is not affected, but I think this is some sort of foreshadowing to tell you just how disappointed his dad would be by the news. We even have a moment where he explains to his mom what happened with the guy in the bar and the fight, and she seems way more understanding. I think she may even know because she's like, do you have anything to tell me? And he doesn't tell her, but either way, she is a really supporting figure, while his dad seems to be hell-bent on him leading a specific life.
No, 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 I'm not that girl. I'm like you guys. I'm this girl. What? Hey, I be fucking too. What?
Carmen also has a sweet spot in my heart for much of the same reasons as Benny, and it's because, say with me, she overcompensates. I was trying out that Oprah meme where she's like, ah. She left behind a boyfriend who doesn't care about her, a best friend who has been apparently sleeping with him the entire time, and a town where her whole identity is deeply tied to her brother. Her brother who passed away, and ever since, her parents haven't cared about her. There's a little more there, but I think they didn't give us more to this intentionally. I know it happened in a crash, but the way that Carmen responds to his death and also has the flashbacks, I feel like she might have been in the car as well. Outliving your older brother sucks, right? And I feel like it's a difficult thing to deal with in general, but even more difficult when his anniversary is slowly approaching and there's so much change in your life. She does not tell Benny until the end of the day that it's her brother's anniversary, and this is another reason that she has a soft place in my heart, because avoidant behavior and not knowing how to handle your emotions are things I am deeply familiar with. Carmen is with Benny all of the way, but she never allows him the chance to be there for her, which I feel in some ways feeds into some of the self-absorbed acts you see in Benny. Even when she undertakes helping him figure out whether he's bi or not, she is going through a pretty tough time of her own, and she's just slept with Peter, which if you don't recall, is his name Peter? Yes, his name is Peter. Which if you don't recall, that is Grace's boyfriend, so Benny's sister's boyfriend. The relationship, if you even want to call it that, begins when she's in a pretty vulnerable space, and I think that's the only way he got into her pants. That's on that. When the break comes around and the choice is go back home to the shrine that her parents have built for her brother and completely ignored her in the process, or go to Benny's home for the break, it's a pretty easy answer. You know what? You can say a lot about Benny as family, but they adore him. And when she enters the space where they so clearly love their child, even though I believe to some degree it's one-sided, especially on the father's side, she falls in love with them, particularly the mom, who I told you is extremely soothing and even voices how her relationship with Grace is a bit different because she's never been into the things that the mother has been into as well. She even starts getting along with Grace as well, and that's a problem in itself. When she arrives at their vacation home, before they even get close, she wants to tell the truth, and she tells Benny, I want to tell Grace that I slept with her boyfriend. And he's like, no, it's gonna make this vacation terrible, and I can really handle, imagine you doing that. Where's the loyalty? You just met Carmen. I know I'm not the best sister, but please put some respect on my name, or our name. My girl is living and learning, and considering that she's finally in a space where she gets to decide who she wants to be with none of the backstory, it makes sense that she makes some mistakes, but she does learn from them. One thing I forgot to mention about Carmen is that she is undeniably gorgeous, right? And I'm not gonna say that the show acts like she's not gorgeous, because get the F out of here, I hate that. And they acknowledge that this girl is a babe, okay? But this naturally draws men to her. A behavior that I noticed was that despite the fact that she doesn't seem to be actively interested in relationships, because of this, she's always getting into weird predicaments. Even her friendship with Grace kind of had a sapphic storyline undertone.
We'll play it. To join the Black Parade.
I'm going to come out and tell you that in the beginning I did not like Grace, and I said that there's no excuses for anyone's behavior. But if you at least understand someone, you can reason their actions. From the get-go, she's mean to Benny, and every other interaction sort of follows the same flow. Slowly but surely we learn more of her, and we realize that she's insecure, and the reason she has a relationship with Peter is because he's her social currency, and that's something she's currently latching onto. She overcompensates, but it's in the most discreet of ways, because as you're watching, I feel like she's become so attuned to being a different person that it doesn't feel out of place anymore. I was super frustrated when I watched Grace and Peter's relationship, because at the point that they are in life, it like really got to me that she was already his wife mom. And despite the fact that Peter is dude broy and funny and hilarious, his character is actually very toxic, and they've done a good job of making him a caricature, but it doesn't change that he's still that type of person. Grace is smart, beautiful, exceptional, all the things, and when she's not meeting Peter's expectations, he always takes the time to remind her that without him, she wouldn't be where she is, which is like popular and respected. We start to see her grow out of her shell as well as Peter. She manages the Charlie XCX event, gets an internship, and even tries to reconcile with a friend who she left behind when she decided that Peter was more important. She's a major Twilight fan, and I can see how that would be a bit out of place in 2025, specifically for the year of college she should be in, because while my timeline is curated and I have the biggest Twilight fan of a best friend, I think that I don't know. I don't know if kids these days think it's as iconic as the rest of us do. Also, her cosplay of Alice from, Twilight is amazing. She nailed it on the head. That's what I was trying to say. And then the other girls within the secret society remind her of the past and ridicule her for her costume, and it just reminds her that as long as she meets certain expectations, she'll at least always have one person, and that person is Peter. And finally, it all starts together. It seems like Grace used to be a bigger, and by bigger I mean physically, emo girl, and she already stuck out like a sore thumb in her town, and then a nude of hers when she was a teenager gets circulated. By the way, that person should have gone to jail. I don't care if he was also a teenager, but we have juvie, okay? From that point on, considering her family and her brother, she is called Disgrace. Like, they do not call her name. So she goes to college, she's a nerd, but there's a part of her that wants to be seen as something more. She gets with Peter in the process, completely changing who she is. Then her younger brother, who is the golden son, both in their house and in town, takes this one space from her. It's not necessarily her dream life, but it's hers. And now he's close to her boyfriend and slowly making his way into all the circles she worked hard to get into by being himself. I would be pissed too. This time it's a bit different when she gets back with Peter, because she still tries to do her own interests on the side instead of solely focusing on him, and she finds out that he did cheat with Carmen. She doesn't know it's Carmen just yet. That's kind of funny also, because she cheated on him first with a nurse. But again, I think that's something they're going to choose to dive into in season 2, and I get her being more pissed because she gave more of herself to him than he ever did her. She does eventually manage to reconcile with her friend, and I think that she's going to get her groove back, okay? I want to mention it here because I think it perfectly ties into what I say about Carmen, but I thought that there was something more between her and her friend. And I understand that, just because someone is a lesbian doesn't it mean that every friend they have is someone they should have as romantic interest, but there was some chemistry there, guys. And without explicitly showing me what happened with him, I will always try to fill in the gaps myself. So you see, I was connecting dots, and then those dots led me somewhere. But also, as I continue speaking, I may be grasping.
Busy.
Okay, yeah. That's better. I know you love me.
Peter is going through a lot, and I want to make it clear that he is not free from the overcompensation. In a secret society where a good chunk of the people present, where the kids are rich and have their lives and jobs lined up for them, he sticks out like a sore thumb. So he tries to make up for this in his conquest with women and making sure that he has the job that is expected of a guy like him. His relationship with Grace is the only place that he gets to have full power, and I think that that's the reason why he enjoys being with her so much, because whenever she falls out of line, he can always remind her that she is who she is because of him, and that makes him feel some type of way. When he's not only told that he is not getting the job that he was promised, but also is ridiculed for getting a pretty good position in the secret society, because they're like, oh man, he was going crazy, we had to give it to him. He falls off the wagon. It's not good. It's actually pretty shitty, because he publishes basically a burn book of all the candidates who want to join the secret society. And when I say burn book, I know that it was like a whole group of girls who were like, oh, yeah. No. He goes through every single slide of all the people who are going to join the secret society that they handpicked, and he writes shit about them, including Benny, but Benny's wasn't too bad, to be honest. Does he get any consequences to his actions? The simple answer is no. And he learns nothing from this, because what he takes from the situation is that he is that guy, and therefore he deserves everything and more. Something they show us a bit later is that he's on antidepressants. There's something I want to articulate here, but I'm not too sure how, so walk with me, okay? First of all, the fact that he is diagnosed with depression and takes his meds was a genuine shock to me, because there's a certain group of men who are just like, nah, this shit don't exist. You're making it up, okay? And I thought he would be one of them. Second is that the minute his life turns around, for the worst, he stops taking them. And every action that follows him after he goes off the meds are so clearly off the rail. But he doesn't have anyone else who really cares about him, aside from Carmen, who did not know him that well, so every compliment she gave him I'm going to disregard because she didn't see what I saw, okay? And I know her like that. Instead of being chastised for posting the burn book, he's celebrated for giving the school some publicity. Instead of being thrown out for busting into a person's office and demanding a job, he gets one. If this was done by a woman, it would not fly at all, but I loved that even the characters that seem extra basic seem to have something a little extra to them, a little substance. Another thing that I loved is that all the secret society's traditions, specifically the men's ones, highlighted just how much men do that's not straight, and occasionally the acknowledgement would be made with no homo.
No homo! Thank you, sir! You have my consent for another!
Imagine eating alone.
So embarrassing.
Miles is a great character, and I say this with and without his interactions with Benny. Compared to all the other characters, he seems to be very comfortable with the person he is. Other than a few short moments, he really compensates, or at least he really overcompensates. He's British and attending a college in America. He has no friends, and we don't know that for a good part because we're seeing him through Benny's lens, which is very much not accurate. He also doesn't seem to be toxically masculine, and I don't know if those are words, but I'm going to use them because I didn't know how to insert toxic masculinity inside that sentence another way. And that's why it's jarring that he's trying to join the secret society. He's also a vegetarian, and it's important to note because part of their hazing rituals is them eating pet fish, which he can't do, and Benny does it for him. But as we learn more about him and hope that he is not straight so that Benny can have a whirlwind romance, it becomes more clear that he is. Which sucks for Miles because while Benny is busy processing the emotions of falling for someone who is straight, he has no friends. And again, I don't condone Benny's actions, but I love how they slotted in Miles' story and made you aware that Benny's actions have repercussions. Before I do get to the finale, I want to give a shout out to both George and Haley. While they didn't have as in-depth storylines, their acting and presence in the show was much needed. They added to the comedy, they called out characters, and most of all, they served. The finale left us with the kind of dramatic cliffhanger that guarantees major shifts in the next season, if we get one. With Carmen accidentally outing Benny in front of Grace and Miles, the dynamics are bound to change. I knew the last episode was going to be intense, but this, absolute chaos. The entire show is the kind of mess I signed up for, and to be honest, it delivered. That said, I'm ready to see some more growth from these characters. Like, I've seen a good amount in the episodes that have aired, but we want to see more next season, especially because Carmen and Benny seem to always disregard other people's feelings whenever they're going through a tough time, and it's not okay. Compartmentalize, guys. They really do match each other in that way. A little something extra is the creator that I said earlier is the character that plays Benny. His name is Benito Skinner, I think, and Benny is character's initials are also BS, so I see the little thing there. I also came across his TikTok where he spoke about how important it was for him to tell his story, and I could tell as I watched this that this was made with so much love. The characters are all given time to flesh out, and it feels like a time capsule to the time Benito was in college, but with an elegant twist of the times we are in now. The most surprising part is that it kind of works. I would like to say that the first time I saw the trailer, 6 Lives of College Girls popped in my head. Similar ideas are allowed, but I'm just a little sad because I feel like for a good show, There's always a cost of another. Like 2 university shows airing at the same time, both depicting queer romance but told in different ways, would have been fly. Anyway, I loved it. The characters are not without faults, but the story is pretty solid. I would like to know what you thought about Overcompensating and what would you like to watch me do next. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, and maybe look at my other videos because I think they're pretty cool, and you can check me out on the rest of my social media. Until next time, bye.